Keeping him honest, Drew Griffin is on the money trail again tonight, and he's found California's dream of a high-speed rail line is in real trouble. So much trouble that it could end up being a high-speed rail line to nowhere, despite billions of federal stimulus dollars already pledged. Now, we've been down this road before. Remember Solyndra, the solar power company that got federal loan guarantees, then went belly up? Well, the Romney campaign is trying to make sure you do not forget. This is from a new web ad that it's running.
You've heard of Solyndra. They took $535 million in taxpayer loan guarantees and went bankrupt. But that's not even half the story. Obama's Department of
Well, the ad's message that President Obama hasn't done a good job choosing companies to invest your tax dollars in. We'll let you decide that for yourself. As for California's high-speed rail line, another project backed by President Obama, it turns out the original cost estimates were way off, and now there's a real chance the rail line may never be completed. Here's Drew's report.
It sure looks like the future, an animated version of California's high-speed rail. And it sounded really cool, too. L.A. to San Francisco at more than 200 miles an hour. No planes, no cars, no fuss. That's why Californians voted for it back in 2008, passing a $10 billion bond measure for a train that was projected to eventually cost $34 billion. Keeping them honest, it's now 4 years later. Not a single track has been laid, and a bombshell report was dropped on California's taxpayers last fall. Their $34 billion train would actually cost closer to 3 times the estimated amount.
The new business plan puts a cost estimate of about $98 to $118 billion.
It was a shocker. 3 times the estimated cost. And guess what? You, the federal taxpayer, might be on the hook for a big chunk of it. We'll get to how that's possible in just a moment. But in California, the sticker shock caused yet another change in accounting, a big turnover with California's High-Speed Rail Authority Board, and yet another rethinking of just where the train will go and how fast and how much it would cost.
Today, we are releasing the revised plan.
In a press conference, a new route, a new slower speed, and a new cost estimate. Now in the neighborhood of $68 billion. Still twice as much as originally sold.
There's no question that the costs have gone up.
Dan Richard is the new chairman of California's High-Speed Rail Authority and co-author of that report that sent the high-speed rail plan, well, slightly off track.
That report was a draft. It was intended to engender comment. It did that rather successfully. And we're looking now at how we revise the plan and strengthen the plan and go forward.
But that is also very troubling. It turns out the latest plan could be for a much slower train, not actually the high-speed futuristic cartoon California voters approved 4 years ago. More of a hybrid that goes slower, makes a few more stops, and doesn't quite deliver the L.A. to San Francisco promise of just a few hours. And that's not the half of it. This is about to become really political. California's high-speed rail has one huge backer, President Barack Obama, and that is where you come in. The administration has pledged $3.5 billion in stimulus money, also known as federal tax dollars, and that's just so far. Now California admits it will need even more, tens of billions of dollars more from federal taxpayers to finish it. But first you have to start, and that's where it really gets dicey. The foundational segment, the first stretch of track, will cost at least $6 billion alone. And under the new plan, will connect Fresno to Burbank. It won't go anywhere near San Francisco, and in the process, will dissect generations-old dairy farms, nut orchards, and towns that don't want it.
We want them to stay off the land. It is not our intention to allow this to happen through our property. We farm here for a reason, the tranquility of it all. This is farming country, and we want to keep it like that.
USC's Lisa Schweitzer, a skeptic, says the High-Speed Rail Authority Board is doing everything it can to rework numbers and routes to justify spending tens of billions of dollars on a train that may be a huge economic blunder that few want to ride.
Every infrastructure project has the potential to be another Solyndra, right? Whether it's high-speed rail or whether it's a bridge to nowhere, right? The construction costs can overrun like that, and that's especially true in California, where our permitting and approvals process is tough.
Does all this have California rethinking its plans? Absolutely not, says Rail Board Chairman Dan Richard. And for one reason. They've already got the promised $3 billion of your tax dollars in federal stimulus. California may not get another dime from President Obama, but it has no intention of giving back the $3 billion already promised or the billions more from California voters.
So let's be very clear on this point. We have $6 billion to build the foundational segment.
Even if that foundational segment turns out to be a high-speed rail, well, to nowhere.
Andrew joins us live. Drew, could this really end up being a train to nowhere?
You know, this foundational segment really is basically going to run, Anderson, from Fresno to Bakersfield. That's 130 miles long. It's going to take 5 to 6 years to do it just to finish that portion, which is not going to be a high-demand route. The fear is if the cost overruns, which critics say are inevitable, will be so high on just that one portion, support is going to fade away, and that's what's going to be left, a train to nowhere.
But if all goes right, this could be a very fast train connecting Los Angeles to San Francisco, and voters approved it.
Yeah, that's right. Voters did pass it back in 2008, but support has been fading as more and more people get details of the project. You know, Orange County was pretty much eliminated from the rail line altogether in this latest attempt to save money. It appears the new version of the high-speed rail is actually going to be a little slower. And completion for all of this, Anderson, is 2028. It's going to be all about the billions and billions California is going to need to finish this project by 2028, whether they get it from us, the federal taxpayers, or possibly private investors. So far, though, those private investors haven't been exactly